The fight that fans have been waiting to add to their calendars has finally been set. Welterweight champion Jack Della Maddalena will defend his belt against the former lightweight king, Islam Makhachev. That bout will be the main event of UFC 322 this November 15 at Madison Square Garden. Right now, oddsmakers and experts alike are favoring Islam because of his championship experience, suffocating grappling game, and well-rounded arsenal. But for fighters like Colby Covington, they see JDM's size and sharp boxing being the X factor. I guess I've got to go with the odds if they're going 3-1. But just because JDM doesn't have good takedown defense, said Covington on who he thinks will win. But you never know, it's a fight and JDM has some good hands, so it should be an exciting fight for the fans. Former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker isn't counting out his fellow Aussie just yet. When Alexander Volkanovski moved up to challenge Islam, he spent 4 rounds playing with Makhachev before detonating a 5th-round rally that nearly won him the belt. This, Whittaker believes, is good news for JDM. The Aussie champ stands 2 divisions heavier than Volk, and he carries both a length and power advantage over Makhachev. Add to that his world-class boxing, killer instinct, and a stellar defense game, and the narrative starts to tilt towards Whittaker's upset prophecy. I think he's got better hands, especially over 5 rounds with the longer arms and reach. Especially considering Islam is going to be trying to close that distance to get closer, said Whittaker. Yes, Islam would be a better wrestler, but Jack has the grappling to kind of threaten that. MSG won't just see one super fight at UFC 322. Valentina Shevchenko will put her flyweight belt on the line against the strawweight champion Zhang Weili. That's 2 pound-for-pound monsters clashing in a battle for supremacy. On paper, it's one of the best women's MMA fights in history. Both champs bring violent precision and endless gas tanks. While Zhang is coming up in weight, she's a ball of power and she's got a better finishing record. It's one heck of a fight. So yeah, UFC 322 is stacked. JDM versus Makhachev for welterweight gold, and Shevchenko versus Zhang in a pound-for-pound battle for the ages. All live from Madison Square Garden this November 15. It's awesome. Back with Colby Covington, the one-time welterweight boogeyman is plotting his 2025 comeback after dropping 4 of his last 6. For a long time, Chaos was the #1 contender to the welterweight crown, but his championship ambitions never came to fruition. Still, his ability to generate headlines keeps him in play for big fights. On the back of this, Covington has zeroed in on Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, who he clashed with backstage in Miami earlier this year. Pimblett has star power, and he's currently undersized, which makes him perfect for Colby, who is desperate for what he thinks is a winnable fight. In the way though, Paddy may be getting a lightweight title fight with the champ Ilia Topuria, who has also taken aim at Paddy, but Colby is pressing on. You're a bum, you're a gimmick, your English accent and your little bowl cut is the only reason people know you. So let's get it going, Paddy, he said before adding his backup plan. If I can't get Paddy, maybe Gilbert Burns. Burns is a less flashy and possibly more dangerous option, but the Brazilian has made multiple former and future champions sweat bullets. Beating Burns would undoubtedly give Covington's dying title ambitions the adrenaline shot they need. It's one of the biggest fights in decades. The undisputed super middleweight king Canelo Alvarez versus the undefeated former undisputed light and welterweight champion Terence Crawford. And predicting the fight is an enjoyable nightmare. On paper, Canelo looks like the favorite. He's younger, heavier, far more experienced, and he's scored more stoppages. But Bud is taller, longer, undefeated, and he's the better ranked pound-for-pound fighter. It's easy to see why the predictions are all over the map. Former 3-division world champion Shane Mosley thinks Crawford will hang for a bit before the size difference sets in. I see Crawford having a good fight for the first 4 rounds, but then I see Canelo slowly commanding the fight and winning, said Mosley. He's too big. Crawford is very courageous and doing all the right things. I think Canelo is too big. William Skull agrees, and he's speaking from painful and recent experience. The Cuban lost the lopsided decision to Canelo earlier this year, despite entering the bout with advantages in size, speed, and combinations. Canelo would knock him out before the 12th round. It would surprise me if Crawford won this fight, said Skull. There is a disadvantage in regards to the weight classes. If there wasn't, it would be a 50-50 fight. This fighting in this weight class definitely benefits Canelo. Crawford isn't just undersized, he's also aging. Bud turns 38 in September. He's fresh off a 13-month layoff, and now he's chasing glory against a naturally much larger man. That's why the former light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev, who Canelo starched back in 2019, is in two minds about the whole thing. It's not good for Crawford, but I can see that he can win by points, said Kovalev. Crawford is very fast and very smart, but in his weight division. Nobody knows how he'll feel at super middleweight. If he's in shape, he will beat Canelo. However, people like the Hall of Famer Tim Bradley aren't buying the age and layoff argument. In fact, the Desert Storm thinks it will play in Bud's favor. Crawford took the time to build his body up the way he needed to build it up. He put a lot of the weight on his legs, said Bradley. That's going to help with stability. That's going to help with punching power. It's going to help with his ability to take a shot too. So there it is, Canelo versus Crawford. Pound-for-pound royalty colliding for all the belts at super middleweight. It goes down September 13 in Las Vegas, and the stakes couldn't be higher. In other boxing news, Olympic champion Imane Khelif has appealed a world boxing decision that forces athletes to undergo genetic sex testing in order to compete. Khelif, who won gold in Paris alongside Taiwan's Yu-ting, was previously barred from the 2023 World Championships under the IBA's murky eligibility rules. The IOC later cleared both fighters to compete based on their passports and banished the IBA in the process. World Boxing, now provisionally approved to oversee the 2028 Los Angeles Games, was under pressure to set new standards, and in May, they announced mandatory sex testing. That has left Khelif in limbo as she refuses to comply ahead of her title defense in LA. And while we shouldn't take any notice of celebrity combat, Misfits Boxing 22 was hard to ignore. In the main event, former UFC contender Darren Till flatlined former UFC champion Luke Rockhold, folding him like a deck chair with a savage barrage in round 3. Till had already battered Rockhold throughout the fight and even floored him once in round 1. But when the end came, it was brutal. Till let loose with a wild combination that ripped Rockhold from reality. And in the co-main, former UFC interim champion Tony Ferguson finally tasted victory again. El Cucuy snapped an 8-fight losing skid by stopping influencer Salt Papi to earn his first win since June of 2019. And in sad news, boxing lost the legend. Former British, European, Australian and Commonwealth heavyweight champion Joe Bugner has died aged 75 in a Brisbane care home. Bugner fought giants like Jimmy Ellis and Joe Frazier across a 32-year career. But his crowning moment came in defeat, a 1975 world title fight in Kuala Lumpur, where he went the distance with Muhammad Ali.
Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.